Hi, Internet viewers. Frank Rauscher again. We are, I think, getting closer and closer. We are almost there on the kinglet. We have both. Oh, hope I didn't do any damage there. We have both sides of the kinglet painted, and you can see the whiteness. I'm trying to get this as close as I can to the camera so you can see it. We're trying to get that brightness in there and some of the dark shading on the tail as well as the wings. Okay, and I hope you captured all that. We toned down the green with I was going to say raw burnt umber, and we should be in it right where we should be as far as the painting goes. Okay, we also did the back of the tail and under the wings with the burnt umber as well. Let me say, I get raw umber. Either one will work, burnt umber or raw umber. So for those who, I'm not trying to give you misdirections here, either one will work for you. So just want to give you a heads up on that. It's a brown, and we're just trying to tone down the white because it isn't like white underneath. It's actually a gray to a brown. So I'm just trying to get you to that point. What I'm going to show you today is we're going to go in and we're going to create feet in a sense with using cast toes and wire. And we're also, I'm going to show you how to use the castings as well that I have, if anybody needs them, to put your piece together as far as the feet and so on. It's the easy way. I take the easy way out a lot. Now, for those that are real purists and are trying to do competitive work, I do have a video that is for soldering copper wire, and you would really need to get maybe like the casting as for sizing with the toes and everything else. I'm not going through every dimension on the feet. I will give you the length of what the leg should be, okay, as it comes off the body and so on. But as far as you need a representative of the toes of the bird we're dealing in. And a kinglet, it's a small bird. Most of I have like generic castings of bird feet, and I usually go like the small bird feet will cover, we'll say like a house wren. Am I getting that right? No, winter wren. And also chickadees, and it'll fit the kinglet, okay? And that size bird, okay? So you're talking about really tiny birds, okay? Then there's the next one up, and that's larger, and that goes for like a house wren or even a Carolina wren you could get away with as well on that. It goes for sparrows, bluebirds, tufted titmice. Okay, it's generically the length of the bird and the length of the toes and everything sort of formulates right around that. Okay, and then the next step up would be like a cardinal size, and this is how we progress in sizes on toes and feet, legs, and so on. The cardinal, any bird that has that length, we usually use the cardinal's feet, okay? And then when you get beyond that, then you're now talking about a robin's foot, which is bigger than the cardinal's foot. And then the bigger foot that's really up there is the blue jay, and that's a Bigfoot. So just wanted to give you a heads up on the scale and which way we go up when we do birds. But I'm going to try to show you how to work with a couple of the things I have as far as the cast toes, and then you get your wire and you make your legs, and some prefer to do that. And then other people that are going into competition are requiring you to make your feet complete. And I don't think you can use castings of any sort, even the toes or something like that. And these, a lot of the castings we had gotten from, I believe, real bird's feet. So that's what we try to utilize, so that you have almost a duplication of what was out there. Not for every bird, but within a grouping size-wise. And that's what I'm trying to get you at. I don't have a number on the video, but if you search through my repertoire of videos, there is a video out there that shows you exactly how to make bird feet with a cast, with copper wire and solder, and that is acceptable for competition if you're looking to get into the competitive side of that. And in some cases, some shows allow you to use castings, in other cases they don't. So I just want to give you an idea on just somewhat on the casting side this time, but there is a video on the soldering end. So we're going to proceed on, and I'm going to try to show you some of the steps it takes to put these together and how to arrange them so that you have a nice looking setting when you're mounting these birds, okay? And how we proceed on as far as soldering them, not soldering them up, but gluing them up. And then we will prime them and so on, okay? Because it's metal, and we use a sealer on that, and it isn't the same as the sealer for the body, okay? So it's more for the metal side rather than the wood side. So I'll give you some more info on that. And then I'm going to ask you, if you are enjoying these videos along the way here, if you could give me a thumbs up on these videos, that's great. It really helps me a lot. And if you could subscribe to my channel and you're enjoying what you're getting from me, I'd appreciate that as well. If you could subscribe, that also helps in my count. And if anybody would like to donate towards my channel, I would appreciate that as well. So I really, it's very helpful. And also for the birds I do on the different videos, I do have kits for them. I do have the feet, I do have the eyes, the pattern. If you want to get them individually, you can do that. You can even get the blanks individually. It just depends on where you want to go. I also have equipment. When I use the micro grinders, I have that. I have wood burners, and I would make recommendations and to stuff I think is really very good. Okay, and I've been using them over the years, so trust me, I've tested them more times than I can count. So I would ask you, if you follow me, I'm going to take you on to the feet, and I hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far, and hope I keep your interest. Okay, so bear with me, and I'll move the camera down. Okay, we're back. Now, for the kinglet itself, I want to give you an idea of where does the legs enter into the body, okay? So I'm going to show you the rule of thumb. Now, this isn't exact for everything, but it does work for a lot. The setup is this. If you go from the tail to the beak and you go about halfway as far as distance, if you measured, this is where the leg should enter into the body, okay? So what I've done, sort of beat the clock here ahead of you guys, I came about 1/4 of an inch off the wing, and I put a hole there and 1/4 of an inch off the wing here and drilled the hole there. Now the distance between these two should be 1/2 inch, okay? And I would say, even if I have to cheat a little bit, I need the 1/2 inch, okay? That's a definite that I would like to see, okay? So what I did is I drilled some holes in here, and I have this wire. It's florist wire. It's annealed steel. And then what I also have is, let me get the other pair of feet that I had floating around here that I just saw. There we go. This is the feet that I'm going to use the casting for. I did 2 birds, so I'm going to come in here, and what I need to do sometime is spread the toes out a little bit, not a whole lot, but just a little bit. And in the case of these, you're going to have to get the diameter of this that goes into the body, and that's what we're doing with this drilling. But if you notice, I couldn't get this into here. I need to drill it out more. So that's a must, okay? But you also have a thinner diameter that goes into what would be your base, all right? And what I'm going to do is I took a measurement from the elbow to the elbow before it turns down, and it's 5/8, okay? So I'm going to come in here and get my pliers, and I'm going to come down about 1/4 of an inch, eyeballing it now, and I'm just bending it just slightly so you can see that there's a slight turn in there, okay? Just not so 90 degrees or anything like that. This should do it, okay? Then I'll get my ruler, and I'm going to measure 5/8 and put my finger right up to that. I'll slide my pliers right up to it. Now, when I bend this, I want to bend this all in the same plane. So I'm going to just kink that a little bit too. So if I do it right, at least I'm trying to, this should lay flat, okay, down on your table. And I'm going to come down here and probably cut about, I'm going to go down and let that stick out of my pliers where I go to cut it off for about maybe 3/8, a little bit longer, okay? And that is the length I need, okay? Now with the casting, this is going to go like this. The short end will go into the body, and the long end will go through the hole here in the casting, okay? Oh, don't go losing stuff now. Here we go. So we have this, and this is going to create our leg, plus we'll get the feet the way it should be. Now, I'm going to bring into the picture here some styrofoam. It's not really styrofoam. This is like some packing that we had some package come in, and it's like a foam, but it's got some body to it, okay? And it's not styrofoam, but if you had styrofoam, you could use that. So what I'm going to do, oh, the other thing I need to tell you also, and let me do that first. I'm saying now that we have the toes here, and there is a right side and a left side to these toes, okay? And this is how it works. I'm just trying to get my nails on the feet curved a little bit. But here's the thing. From the back end here, if I drew a straight line, which would be like that middle of the breast area, and then you go out 1/4 of an inch either way, that's the way these are going to sit. And the bird is going in that direction, of course. So the front toes will be the 3 in the front. And the back, if you noticed, the back toe is leaning inward on both sides. This actually is favoring this side, and this one is favoring the center, and this makes it the left side, and this one makes it the right side. And that's how you can determine that these back toes should be toed in, okay? So I just want you to remember that, so that if you ever get into a situation and you're trying to figure out what toes go where, this is the whole setup right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm bringing this into play, and don't mind the mess on here because I've done this a million times with classes and everything else. I'm getting my toes in line here, and I'm going to push this one through the hole. Sure am. There we go. Push that through the hole. And I hope you're seeing this well. And just before it turns down, I just want to keep that just above the foot itself. And then what I'll do is I'll do the same thing again. I'll get my piece of wire. I'll do a 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll come down with the 5/8. Okay, I'm getting better at it each time, and I'm bending this all in the same, so that when it lays flat. See? Then I'll come in, I'll come down with my cutter on my pliers here, and have about maybe 3/8 on the bottom there, and I'll get my feet on the other side here. So this is the left side, and that's the right side. I'm going to get this, plug it into this hole, and keep it just as it turns, right at the top there, okay? Now, the thing I always want you to do, we're going to glue this up. Now, in general, what I usually do is use 5-minute epoxy, but because To expedite things here, I'm going to use a super glue, and it'll accelerate things because I have an accelerator and all that good stuff, and I could do this in front of you, but most of the time I like to do this with 5-minute epoxy. Now, the other thing you want to make sure of is that this back leg is following this toe, okay? And it should be in line with each other, okay? At least when you get done gluing it all, it should be right there. So here's what we do. I'm getting a super glue, and you can get this from a dollar store or something like that. You usually get 2 for $1.25 now or something like that. This is not the red one. The red one we use for the beak. This is a gel, which is a gapping glue. And what we're doing here is we're going to try to join the toes to the wire, okay? And you want to use the gel. Now, I'm going to get this open. I am going to get my magnifiers, which I always wear. You don't see it. It's Optivisor, and I put that on. And if anybody needs any of those, I do carry those. So you can always let me know. Now, I'm going to squirt a little out, just a little, and you can see just a little bubble coming up. I'm going to lay that right around the toes and the wire. And I'm going to move the wire so I can get to the back side of this too. But I don't want a glob. I want just enough, you know. If you're going to add anything, it's like it could flow from the wire to the front toe here just a little bit. Okay, and make sure everything's in line. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll come up, glob it on there, come around, make sure I get to the back side of it. I don't want a lot. I really don't want a lot. And just get enough that's on there, okay? Now, the one thing I do a lot is so this doesn't get gummed up, I just clean the end of it. And I put my cap back on, okay? And that'll keep you going for a while. Now, these I want in line with each other. They don't set up real fast, but here's how I do it. This is called an accelerator. I get this, and I spray them just like that, and that will accelerate the gluing process, and in no time flat, they're solidified somewhat, okay? And they'll really anchor down, and you can see that's not spinning on there. That's holding up. But what I want to do is guarantee the bottom is going to be glued too. So let me do this. I'm going to get my glue again. And I want to I'll squirt some out, just a little bit. Get it around the bottom. I don't want a lot. It's not that I'm not trying to use the glue. I just don't want a glob in there. And I'm going to push that back in, but not all the way, because I don't want it to glue to the, what's the name in there, too. Okay, the styrofoam. So here we go again. I hope I'm not drifting. I'm making this video a second time because I went out of camera range before. So I got the glue in there again. I get that down. You can see it starts bubbling over a little bit, so I'll take the excess off just to keep it under control, and then put my lid on it. And I get my accelerator one more time, and I hit it. And that should get things going to the point that within minutes, this should hold, okay? That's not saying that they won't sometime, but I like 5-minute epoxy. It just tends to work out very well. Now that we have that, what I want to do is I want to insert these to the way, remember the way the feet are going, you want these to go on like this so that this side gets this foot. I hope I did that right. No, I reversed it, see that? Good thing I checked. This is on the inside, and this one's on the inside, so that's one way to keep yourself straight, okay? So, like that. Now, that means this should fit right into here. So, one thing, smart thing to do is to check, and you should be able to touch this with the accelerator. For those that don't have the accelerator, don't worry about it. You just let it sit. You know, if you have to go 10, 15 minutes, and then you could touch it to see if it's still tacky or what. You know, give it time. You know, the accelerator just speeds up the process if you need it. Now, I'm going to go in, because this goes like this. I'm going to feed this into this hole and see if it's too long. And it isn't. It seems like it just, the bend is just slightly before it meets the body. Okay. And then I'll check the other one just by the touch. And I'll come in and I'll feed that one in. Okay. Now this seems a little longer. So what you do, and the hole wasn't drilled out far enough, so I'll just take a little bit off. And then when I stick it into the body, that should be right on. Okay. So there we go. Now we got the leg in. We have the feet on. And now what we want to do, and everything's lined up with the back toe and the legs are all in the same plane, okay, or going in the right direction. So you can see that, okay. Now what we'll do is we'll glue this in. So what I'm going to do, I'll flip this over so I have it nice and clean there. Again, I would normally do this with 5-minute epoxy, but this will work, okay? And I'm not trying to push it into the gel, but you can work the gel with it, okay? So here we go. I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to squirt out just a little bit so everything's in control, and get it all the way around my wire on that portion that's going into the body. Okay. Put that down. I'll plug this in to the hole. Push that in all the way. Then the bend is just going to be on the outside. Then I'll put that down. I'll get my other one. The excess. I don't want to load it up now because you don't need a lot. Now, I'm going to plug this in to this hole. And again, try to keep everything in line with each other. And you can go like that. Now I'm going to clean this off right away. And this way it'll flow each time when I go to use it. Now, that's how I do my wire and just the toes, okay? I'm giving you different choices. Now, the other thing too is you can see how this one is going on this angle and this is going on another angle. I'm going to try to get the two of them together. I'm going to leave this one here, which looks a little better, and I'm going to bend this one back a little, like so. Not too much. And we're going to do some, that be close enough. Now, the thing that you really have to do it right is you got to get this onto your base, okay? Now, I prepared a base ahead of time. Here's a piece of, here's a base I have, and I screwed this down, so this piece of driftwood is sitting on top. And then I spaced some holes here and drilled them in with a burr that I used from here. And this is the exact diameter that I needed. And I go in there, and I did one over here. Okay. And what we do now is we try to do a fit up in here, and you may have to adjust the feet to get in there, okay? Now, I think this one's a little longer than I need, so I'm going to trim it a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this one in here. The other one over here. And you plug them in. I know you can't see them because I'm working, trying to get this down in here. I think this needs to be tilted a little bit more, so I'm going to hold this so that the bond where it is at the body isn't going to be bent or anything. I'm going to bend this in just slightly, and you may have to do adjustments like that for your own setting. And I'm noticing that I may have some problems with the wood. Yep, that one popped in pretty good. It's this one where I may have to drill that again. But here's the thing I want to try to show you. You don't want this, I don't want this bird standing up in this direction so you can see it. So I'm going to bend these legs like this. I'm going to bend this down and this down because they're always like hunched down. And let me try drilling this one more time over here. I think what's happening is my piece of wood is starting to fall apart. So it's good to have a nice solid piece. I can't say I picked the best one, but we'll live with it for the moment. Now that this is bent, I'm going to even bend this a little bit more. So I'm going to just push this down and push that down, and you can see what I've done here. I've really pushed that in. We're not to the end of it, but because we're just trying to make this bird look like it looks natural on the piece. So I get that one in. I think I'm going to have a little difficulty with this one, but I'm going to show you anyway. You got to get this down, like so, and get your toes widened. I know none of you are seeing a lot of this. And then the back toe could hang out. And there's basically the setup on this, okay? Now, I'm going to have to do a little repair on the wood back here because I think some of it popped off, so I'll make an adjustment. But the idea is eventually how I want this bird positioned is like this, even down further, okay? So I'm even bending this even down so it has almost a downward run, like it's looking at the ground. So that is the way I want to mount this when I get it done. So I hope you can see that, and we will get this so it works and not a problem here, okay? Now I want to show you another method. This was with the wire and the toes, okay? So that's one way of doing it. And then here's another way. And let me show you that. This is a casting of the feet, okay? So what we do here is I do the same thing. I come in 1/4 of an inch over from the edge and 1/4 of an inch over from the edge over here, okay? And I drill a hole. Now, in this case, I use the drill because it takes a bigger bit and a bigger hole. This is a much larger diameter than the wire I was using. And I drilled that. And then, again, this has its towing inward. I also made sure that everything fits in here. And then what I also did in here is use the glue inside on the metal. And these have a groove on them, okay? They're like threaded. And that'll help bind to the side, and the glue gets in there both on the metal and on the wood, and it gives you a nice, it's very sturdy, okay? So this is another way of doing it. And then you can bend this so that I want it like on a downward position, okay, like so. Okay, I just feel as though they present themselves better that way. So I try to bend this, but when I do, I want to be very secure that this is anchored and this is anchored, and then I could bend this, okay, and get it where I want it. Then what you have to do is have your setup where you have your piece of driftwood and your anchored onto the base, if that's what you're using, or you could just have driftwood by itself, and it doesn't have to, if you cut a flat bottom to it. Like here's a piece of driftwood I'm thinking about maybe mounting one of these other ones, maybe like this guy, and I'll flatten this so it sits right on the base. And then what you got to do is find out what's a secure point to anchor these so that they look balanced here. And then what I do is I usually get a pencil or an ink pen, and I'll come in, and where the feet, the post land, I'll say, okay, that looks like it's balanced there. So I'll put a dot over here and a dot over there, and I know where I have to drill, okay? And what you want to do is either you can get a burr and start it and then get your drill afterwards, or use an awl to push in just to get things started so that when you do drill, you don't go all over the place, okay? So that's another thing you want to do too as well. Now, the other thing that I wanted to explain to you as well is that when we get the feet, okay, and we're got the wire and the toes as one, or as we got a casting like so, I'm going to ask you to use, it's called a sealer. This is Joe Sanyo's all-purpose sealer. So you can get this, and this is what I do, is I get, let's see, I'm going to put my cup of water over here. And you can also, besides the sealer, you can also use matte medium, okay? And you only want to get a little bit on your setup. And here's what I'm talking about. I dip my brush into water. I get my paper towel just to get the excess off. I'm going to come in here, and what I do is I'm going to stick my brush in there, and I get just a little bit, see, when I start. So I'm going to come in here, and from the elbow down, I'm going to coat that with this white coating, okay? And I'm going to spread it pretty thin because I don't want it heavy. And I'm going to go back for a little bit more. That's a lot there, but we'll use it up. I don't want it loaded, okay? I may even take a little bit of that off because I don't want it so heavy, but I want to make sure the wire has it all, okay? And I'm going to get the underneath side and the top side all the way around the wire, and even a little bit below, okay? But not the whole thing. Now, I'll get my styrofoam again. I'll plug that in. Let that sit. And I like to air dry it, so I don't rush the season on this one. You probably could use a hair dryer, but I prefer to just let it go. In the meantime, I could play with my base, or I could try to get things going that I need to get ready for it all. So on here, I'm going to go to the joint, and when you put it on, you could see that silver color that we had, that metal silver color. I don't load the brush up too much, just enough to get that milky gray color, okay? And I do all sides. And I come back. I even take some off of the jar before the jar gets over here so that I don't have so much on my brush. And I use something on the post just a little bit. And also up in the elbow here. Okay. And I look around to see if there's any sheen coming off that I may have missed what I wanted. Okay, so I'm going to plug that in. And I do that to either the casting, the set of them, and also the wire with the feet, okay? And with that, you want to rinse your brush out too. You don't want any of this sealer to sit, especially on a good brush, on that stuff. And then I take a lot off my paper towel just to make sure it's got a little bit of a bounce to it and your brush will be preserved. Now, what I've done, here's another one that's already in place. The coating is on there, and I'm letting this dry, okay, just like I did there. And what we're going to do on the next video, I'm going to show you how to paint this and do some final touches on here and on the beak and so on. And then we'll go from there. But basically, you're halfway in the middle, okay? You're 1/4 of an inch in. You should at least have a 1/2 inch going across. If you don't, try to keep as much of the 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch from the center out on the breast, one side and the other, okay? And that should get you there. Now, I got to do a little bit of repair on mine, on where I was putting the stuff with the wire into the base there, because I think the base was starting to deteriorate a little bit. So I'll go back and I'll fix that up, and we'll get that going too. So I just want to let you know, this is the way I want it set up, and this is a good way of approaching it. So you can use the Joe Sanyo sealer or the matte medium, okay? And what that does, the sealer allows the paint to adhere to the metal, and it doesn't want to grab right away sometimes. So what we want to do is prepare it so it'll accept the paint when we go to paint. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this much of the video, and if anybody wants to try these guys, you know, as far as getting it going, I have kits available. If you write to me and to my email address, and that's Rauscher, RAUSCHER, Frank, FRANK, 7@gmail.com, I'll send you out. It's about 5 or 6 pages long, and it lists the kits I have in there, and a lot of the material you may need. And if I don't carry the sealer, you could get that at like a Michael's or any art supply place, and you can get things like that. So it's not the accelerator. If need be, I could probably get it for you if you need it, you know. But it's not that expensive neither. And this is what I like to do, is have everything prepped. Then when we put everything together, it goes easy. So you're gluing this into the body, and you're also gluing this in the wire into the body as well. So you got this one in here, and you got, and I'm going to have to what's the name, paint these before we get together again. So these are ready to go, and so's the casting. So now you probably early in the game on the original one, I did something different, and I'm going to talk about that on the next video, where I actually cut into the breast area where it was sitting on a branch, and it fits into the branch, and then I stick some toes in, and that's another way of doing it. So it doesn't show the legs. It's almost like the legs are tucked in, but there's different approaches to how you want to mount a bird sometime. Just like I was showing you about a couple of videos back, the birds I had done on that miniature tree, I did them like half scale. Because they're so small, and I didn't want to deal with the feet, and everything gets really complicated and real tiny, which these are small feet to start. But now, as you scale down, it's hard to make the feet. So what I do a lot of times, you may not have noticed, or maybe I did mention it, that when I put the birds in there, I made sure that this sat on the branch, and that's the only thing. I glued the two of them together, the branch, and I made a groove through the body in the belly area here. And I'll try to show you that too, okay? That's another way of doing it. And when I do owls, a lot of times, I do not set the owl on the feet. I usually just cut the toes off and stick it into the body as it's resting on a branch. And I do it that way. So there's a couple ways of getting around things, and that's what I've done. So if you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, I would wish you'd give me a thumbs up and you'd subscribe to my channel. And if you ever need any information or anything, definitely contact me. If you could pass the word on about my channel to friends that may be interested in wanting to do this, that'd be great too. And if you can contribute to my channel, or me, I should say, I'd appreciate that as well, okay? And so I hope you got something out of this video. And we'll see you on the next one, and we'll get finished on the legs. And I think we may get close to wrapping it up on the next video for sure, okay? So see you on the next one, and hope you enjoyed it so far. Bye.